The mansion went silent. The guests stopped eating. The music stopped playing. Even the ceiling fan seemed to pause. Chief Daniel Adesanya, one of the richest men in Lagos, stood in the center of the dining hall, staring at the skinny maid, whose hands were shaking so hard that rice and stew slid off the tray and splashed on the glossy white floor. The madam of the house, Mrs. Belogan, shot up from her gold chair. "You foolish girl!" she shouted. "Can't you carry ordinary plate?" The maid dropped to her knees at once. "I'm sorry, Mom," she whispered, her voice small and afraid. Chief Daniel heard that voice. Something inside him broke. He had heard that voice before. He looked closer. Her uniform was faded and too big. Her black slippers were torn. Her hair was roughly packed into a small bun. There was a thin scar near her left eyebrow. That scar, the same scar his only daughter had gotten when she was 6, after falling off her pink bicycle in their old compound. His chest tightened. No, he thought. It's not possible. My daughter is dead. They told me she was dead. "Move this useless girl away," Mrs. Belogan snapped. She raised her hand to slap the girl. Chief Daniel's voice cut through the hall. "Don't touch her!" Everyone froze. The girl slowly lifted her head. Her eyes met his. Big brown eyes. Afraid. Confused. Familiar. "Zara," he whispered. The tray slipped from her hands. Plates shattered on the floor. Oil and stew splashed across her legs. The whole room gasped. The madam frowned. "Olga Daniel, you know this girl? She is my maid. She is stubborn and slow. I will deal with her." He ignored her. "Stand up," he said softly, his voice shaking as he looked at the maid. "Let me see your face." The girl did not move. She looked at him like someone looking at a ghost. Why are you calling me that name?" she asked. "My name is Amara." Amara, Zara's middle name. His heart dropped. He took one slow step toward her. His hands trembled. His eyes were wet now. "Stand up," he repeated. "Please." The guards at the door watched. The waiters watched. The guests watched. No one understood why the billionaire who never smiled at anybody was now breathing like he had just run up a hill. The girl stood up slowly. Her uniform was dirty from kneeling to scrub floors. Her hands were dry and cracked. Her eyes carried a kind of pain a child should never know. But it was her, his only daughter. The one he had buried in his heart 3 years ago. Dead, they said. Burnt in a car accident, they said. Gone forever. He reached out his hand to touch her cheek. She flinched. "Please, sir, don't let Madam sack me," she whispered. "I will clean it. I promise. I'm sorry." His fingers stopped in the air. Those words, those manners, that fear. Something was very wrong. He turned slowly to face Mrs. Belogan. "Where did you get this girl?" His voice was low, dangerous. She forced a laugh. Olga. It's just house help now. One woman brought her. Village girl. She has no people. She is lucky to even be here." The fork fell from his hand. No people. Lucky. Chief Daniel felt his whole body grow hot. He looked at the girl again. At Amara. At Zara. The same eyes as his late wife. The same scar. The same birthmark on her left wrist. His heart was no longer confused. He knew. This was his daughter. Alive. Working as a maid in another woman's house. Something inside him snapped. Without warning, Chief Daniel did something no one in that hall ever imagined a billionaire like him could do. He stepped forward, grabbed the girl by the shoulders, pulled her close to his chest, and in front of everyone, he began to cry. Real tears, shaking, holding her like he was afraid someone would steal her again. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice breaking. Mrs. Belogan's face went pale. The guests stared. The guards looked at each other. In that single moment, secrets, lies, and years of pain rose to the surface. "Who told me you died?" he choked. "Who did this to you? Who put you here?" The girl's lips parted. She glanced at Mrs. Belogan. Her hands began to tremble. "Daddy, it was—" Her next words were about to expose the one name that would turn his whole world upside down. The very person he trusted the most. Chief Daniel's mind went blank. He could hear the sound of plates breaking, people whispering, and chairs scraping across the floor. But none of it mattered. His eyes stayed locked on the trembling girl in front of him. "Who?" he asked again, his voice low, shaking with a kind of pain that came from deep inside. "Who put you here?" Zara's lips trembled. Her eyes darted toward the corner of the hall, toward a woman standing near the stairs, clutching a small silver purse, her face tight with fear. Chief Daniel's secretary, Mrs. Mabel, the same woman who had worked with him for 12 years. The same woman who handled the report of Zara's death. "Talk to me, my child," Chief Daniel said gently, lowering himself to her level. "Who did this?" Tears rolled down her cheeks. "It was her," she whispered, pointing with a shaking hand. The entire room turned. Mrs. Mabel's face drained of color. "Zara, no! You don't know what you're saying. Stop lying!" Zara's voice cracked like thunder. "You're the one who told me Daddy was gone. You're the one who took me away that night." The guests gasped. Even Mrs. Belogan stumbled backward in confusion. Chief Daniel's jaw tightened. His breath grew heavy. "Mabel," he said, his tone no longer gentle. "What is she talking about?" Mabel took a step back. "Sir, it's not what it looks like." "Answer me!" His voice roared through the hall, shaking the walls. Even the guards flinched. Mabel's hand trembled around her purse. "Sir, I only did what I was told." "By who?" he demanded. Her silence was louder than a scream. Zara sobbed quietly beside him. "She took me away after the accident, Daddy. She said you didn't want me anymore. She made me work in this house, cleaning floors, washing clothes. Sometimes I didn't even eat." Mrs. Balogun gasped. "What nonsense is this? Mabel, what is she saying? You brought this girl to me." But Mabel didn't respond. Her eyes darted toward the door. Chief Daniel followed her gaze. He realized she was about to run. "Guards!" he shouted. Two men in black rushed forward, blocking the exit. Mabel froze. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "It wasn't supposed to go this far." Chief Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. "Then explain. Why? Why did you make me believe my daughter was dead?" Mabel began to cry. "Because someone paid me to." The hall fell silent again. Chief Daniel took a slow step forward, his face unreadable. "Who paid you?" She swallowed hard. "Sir, please, don't make me say it." "Say it, Mabel," he said, "or I swear I'll make sure you regret the day you ever stepped into my company." Mabel dropped to her knees, sobbing. "It was Madame Lydia." The name echoed like thunder. Lydia. Chief Daniel's second wife, Zara's stepmother, the same woman who had stood beside him at his daughter's funeral, crying crocodile tears. The same woman who had begged him to move on. The guests began murmuring. Chief Daniel felt his knees weaken. "Lydia?" he whispered. "My own wife?" Mabel nodded, shaking. "She said, as long as Zara was gone, she would be the only woman in your life. She made me forge the DNA report after the accident. She gave me money to keep Zara hidden. She wanted her forgotten." Zara covered her face, sobbing harder. Chief Daniel's fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. He turned away, pacing, trying to breathe, trying to understand how his life had turned into this nightmare. Lydia, his wife, the woman he trusted. He remembered how she insisted on organizing Zara's burial so quickly, how she refused to let him see the body, how she told him to move on because grief kills faster than sickness. Every memory now felt poisoned. "Where is she?" he asked quietly. Mabel hesitated. "Sir, she's, traveling." "Traveling where?" "Abuja," Mabel whispered. "For a charity event." Chief Daniel looked at Zara again, his little girl, covered in stew and tears, shaking in fear. Then he turned to the guards. "Take this woman," he said coldly, pointing at Mabel, "and keep her where she cannot run." "Yes, sir." As the guards dragged her away, Mabel screamed, "Please, sir! I only did what she said." But Daniel wasn't listening anymore. His mind was already somewhere else, burning with anger, regret, and love all at once. He knelt beside Zara again, gently wiping her tears with his thumb. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I'm here, and I will never lose you again." Zara looked up at him, her eyes full of fear and disbelief. Daddy, she said you would never forgive me. He hugged her tightly. Forgive you? For what? For surviving. Those two words broke him completely. He held her tighter, his tears soaking into her hair. But even as he held her, his mind raced with one thought. If Lydia could do this to his child, then what else had she done behind his back? He stood slowly, his face dark with fury. I'm going to find her, he said. And when I do, he stopped. Because right then, the front door opened, and Lydia herself walked in, smiling. The heavy doors swung open with a slow, echoing creak. Every head in the hall turned. There she was, Lydia Adesanya, glowing in a long cream gown that shimmered under the chandelier light. Diamond earrings sparkled against her neck, and her calm, confident smile filled the room. She walked in like a queen who owned the world, but she had no idea her world was about to collapse. Daniel, she said softly, pretending surprise. You're here? I didn't expect you till evening. Her eyes scanned the hall, then froze on the sight before her. The broken plates, the crying girl in a maid's uniform, and her husband's face red with fury and tears. Something flickered in her eyes, fear, but it disappeared almost instantly behind that familiar mask of calm. Lydia, Chief Daniel said, his voice low and trembling, you came just in time. She looked around, pretending confusion. What's going on here? The guests whispered among themselves. Even Mrs. Belogan quietly slipped away toward the corner, sensing danger. Do you know this girl? Chief Daniel asked, pointing at Zara. Lydia's eyes flicked toward the girl. For a brief second, just 1 second, her lips parted in shock. Then she quickly looked away. No, she said firmly. I don't. Why? Daniel took a deep breath. His voice controlled but filled with pain. Because this girl you claim not to know is my daughter. The room gasped. Lydia's painted smile cracked for the first time. Daniel, that's impossible. Your daughter is dead, he cut in, his tone sharp. That's what you told me. She blinked. I told you what the hospital said. I was only trying to protect you. He stepped closer, his eyes burning. Protect me? Or protect yourself? Daniel, please. Mabel confessed, he thundered. She told me everything. The money, the forged report, how you made her hide my child and lie that she was gone forever. Lydia's breath caught. Her eyes darted around the hall as the whispers grew louder. Daniel, she's lying. You can't believe that woman. She was fired last year for stealing. Mabel is in my custody, Daniel said coldly. And she didn't just speak. She had proof. He snapped his fingers. A bodyguard stepped forward, holding a brown envelope. Inside were papers, DNA reports, payment receipts, even photos of a young Zara being dropped off at the Belogan mansion. Lydia's eyes widened. Her perfect posture faltered. Lydia, Daniel said softly, heartbreak in his tone. How could you do this? To a child who called you mummy? To me? Her lips trembled. For the first time, her voice broke. Daniel, you don't understand. Everything changed after your first wife died. You stopped looking at me the same way. You only cared about Zara. You said she reminded you of her mother. Do you know how that felt? Living every day in someone else's shadow? Daniel's eyes glistened. So you punished her for it? Lydia stepped forward, desperation in her voice. I didn't want to lose you. I thought if she was gone, you'd finally love me the way you loved her mother. The room was silent. No one dared breathe. Zara's soft voice cut through the tension. You made me scrub floors and wash toilets, she said, her tears streaming. You told me I was worthless, that my father didn't want me. Lydia's lips trembled. Zara, Don't call my name, Zara cried, her voice echoing off the walls. You ruined my life. Lydia's eyes filled with tears now. For the first time, she looked small, broken. I didn't mean to. Not like this. Chief Daniel looked at her long and hard. You lied to me. You stole my daughter. You made me mourn a child who was still alive. His voice cracked. You buried me in grief just to keep my love. Lydia dropped to her knees, reaching for his leg. Daniel, please. Don't destroy me. I did everything for love. He stepped back sharply. That's not love. That's evil. Tears streamed down his face as he turned to Zara. We're leaving, he said gently. You're coming home with me. Zara nodded through her tears. But as they started walking out, Lydia screamed, You can't just take her away from me like this. Daniel turned. Like this? You mean the way you took her from me? Lydia's face twisted with rage. If you walk out that door, Daniel, you'll regret it. I swear you will. He didn't respond. He only wrapped his arm around Zara and began walking toward the exit. The guards opened the doors. The guests whispered in disbelief. And then, just as they reached the door, a gunshot shattered the silence. Zara screamed. Daniel froze. He turned around slowly, his eyes wide in shock. Lydia stood there, holding a small silver pistol with both hands. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her body shook. Daniel, she whispered, her voice cracking. If I can't have you, no one will. The sound of the gunshot still echoed through the mansion like thunder rolling across the sky. For a moment, everything froze, even time itself. Chief Daniel's breath caught in his throat. His body stiffened. The air felt thick and heavy. Zara stood beside him, her eyes wide, her small hands clutching his sleeve. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. Then a second later came the smell of gunpowder. Daniel looked down at his chest. No blood. He turned to his right. Zara was untouched. A collective gasp swept through the hall. The bullet had missed them, but it had hit something else. The golden chandelier above their heads flickered, shaking violently before crashing down across the center of the room. Guests screamed and scattered, diving under tables as glass and metal shards exploded in every direction. Zara screamed, covering her ears. Daniel wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close, shielding her from the falling glass. Lydia, he roared, what have you done? But Lydia wasn't listening. Her hands were shaking uncontrollably as she tried to lift the gun again, tears streaming down her cheeks. Don't come near me, she screamed. You ruined me, Daniel. I gave you everything. The guards drew their weapons instantly, but Daniel raised a hand to stop them. No one shoots, he said firmly. Not while my daughter is here. He took one slow step forward, his voice calm but cold. Lydia, put the gun down. She shook her head. You don't understand. You were supposed to love me. You said we'd start a new family, but you never did. You spent every day looking at me like a mistake. Daniel's voice softened. And this is how you fix it? By trying to kill me? Lydia's hand trembled harder. I just wanted you to feel what I felt all these years. Forgotten. Zara's small voice broke through the noise. Please, she whispered, her tears falling. Don't hurt my daddy. Please. Lydia's eyes flickered toward her, guilt flashing across her face. For a second, her arm lowered, but then something inside her snapped again. Stop calling him your daddy, she shouted. He was mine. Everything was supposed to be mine. The house, the company, the name, everything. Daniel clenched his jaw. You already took enough. You took 3 years of my child's life. You took my peace. What else do you want to destroy? Lydia's breathing grew shallow. Her lipstick was smeared, her mascara running black tears down her cheeks. The gun in her hand looked too heavy for her to hold. Then suddenly a deep male voice cut through the tension. Drop the gun, Lydia. Everyone turned. Standing at the entrance was Inspector Henry, a tall, dark-skinned man in a police uniform, his badge gleaming under the broken lights. Behind him were 2 officers. Lydia turned, startled. Who called you? I did, said Daniel quietly. The moment I saw Mabel's confession, I made the call. The inspector stepped forward. Lydia Adesanya, you are under arrest for conspiracy, kidnapping, and attempted murder. Lydia laughed, a hollow, broken sound. Arrest me? You think I care? He already took everything. Daniel's face softened with sadness. No, Lydia, you destroyed everything. He moved closer, slow, careful, his voice low. You're not that woman I married anymore. The one I loved was kind, gentle. What happened to her? For a brief moment, her eyes softened. She looked tired, lost. Then her knees buckled. The gun slipped from her hand, clattering onto the marble floor. The guards rushed forward, pinning her arms. She didn't resist. She just stared blankly at the ground as they placed the handcuffs on her wrists. The inspector nodded to Daniel. "We'll take her away, sir." Daniel didn't speak. He just stood there, holding Zara tightly, watching the woman he once loved being dragged out of the mansion in front of everyone. Lydia's voice cracked as they pulled her away. "Daniel, I just wanted you to see me." He looked at her one last time. "You could have been seen if you hadn't chosen darkness." As the doors closed behind her, the hall fell silent again. Zara turned to her father. "Daddy, will she hurt us again?" He shook his head gently. "Not anymore, my angel. It's over." But deep inside, he knew it wasn't. Because when Mabel was being taken away earlier, she had whispered something strange to one of the guards. A warning Daniel couldn't stop thinking about. And just as he carried Zara to the car waiting outside, his phone buzzed. It was an anonymous message. "You think it's over?" Lydia wasn't the only one. Daniel froze. His eyes darkened as he looked out over the long driveway, the Lagos sunset glowing red behind the mansion. Something told him the real war had just begun. The evening sky over Lagos burned with orange and red streaks as the sun disappeared behind the tall mansion gates. The once lively compound now stood silent. Police cars gone, guests long dismissed, and only the soft sound of crickets echoing through the air. Chief Daniel sat alone in his study, the same room where he had once signed billionaire deals and laughed with ministers. Now it felt like a prison, cold, quiet, heavy with memory. He stared at the message on his phone again. "You think it's over?" Lydia wasn't the only one. His hands tightened around the phone. His mind replayed everything. The lies, the betrayal, the years of pain. If Lydia wasn't the only one, then who else was behind it? A knock broke the silence. "Come in," he said quietly. Zara stepped in slowly. She had changed out of the maid's uniform and now wore a simple white dress from the guest room closet. Her hair was brushed, her skin clean, but her eyes still carried sadness. "Daddy," she said softly, "you haven't eaten." He smiled weakly. "I'm not hungry, my dear." She walked closer and held his hand. "Can I stay with you for a while?" He nodded. "Always." For a long moment they sat in silence. The ticking clock filled the room. Then Zara spoke again, her voice trembling. "Daddy, there's something I didn't tell you." Daniel turned, worried. "What is it, my love?" She hesitated. "Before they brought me to Madame Belogan's house, we didn't come straight from the hospital. We stayed somewhere first. A big house in Ikeja. Mabel said we had to hide there for a few days until someone gave her the next order." His brow furrowed. "Someone? Who?" Zara shook her head. "I never saw his face, but I heard them talk. He was on the phone. He called himself Uncle Femi." Daniel's heart skipped. "Femi?" "Yes. Mabel said he used to work for you in the company." Daniel rose slowly to his feet, his body tense. "Femi, my cousin?" Zara nodded. "He said once you were out of the way, everything would belong to them." Daniel's chest grew tight. He remembered. Femi, the man he had trusted to help run the company after his wife's death. The same man who suddenly resigned and moved abroad a few months after Zara's accident. It all made sense now. The false accident, the forged reports, Lydia's growing jealousy. Femi had been the one feeding her insecurities, manipulating her, using her. He clenched his fists. "He used her to destroy me." Zara looked up, confused. "Why would he do that?" Daniel's voice was low. "Because money changes people, and in this world, even family can become enemies." Just then, his phone rang again. Unknown number. He hesitated before answering. "Hello?" A deep voice came through. Calm, cold, and familiar. "Good evening, cousin." Daniel froze. "Femi, I see you finally found your little princess," the voice said. "Touching story. I almost shed a tear watching it on the news." Daniel's jaw tightened. "What do you want?" Femi laughed quietly. "What I've always wanted, what should have been mine. The Adesanya fortune, the company. You were too soft, Daniel. You let emotions rule you. That's why people like me always win." Daniel's voice grew hard. You destroyed my family. No, Femi replied coldly. You destroyed your family when you trusted the wrong people. The line went silent. Then a faint sound, a child's laughter, echoed on the other end. Daniel's heart stopped. Femi, what was that? The voice chuckled. You really thought you saved everything, didn't you? He could hear the sound of waves, seagulls, and a faint car engine in the background. Then Femi whispered, You may have your daughter back, but what about your legacy? The call ended. Daniel dropped the phone, his heart pounding. Daddy? Zara asked, her voice trembling. Who was that? He turned to her slowly. Someone who isn't done with us yet. At that moment, his personal assistant ran into the room, breathless. Sir, there's a fire at the company's headquarters. It started a few minutes ago. They say it looks deliberate. Zara gasped. Daddy! Daniel's eyes darkened with determination. Get the car ready, he ordered. Now. He turned to his daughter, placing his hand gently on her cheek. I lost you once. I won't lose anything else again. As they rushed out of the mansion, sirens wailed in the distance, the night sky glowing red with smoke. For the first time, Daniel realized this wasn't just about family anymore. It was war, one that would test everything he had ever built and loved. And as the car sped into the burning city lights of Lagos, a single thought echoed in his mind. The battle for truth had only just begun. Hey lovelies, if you enjoyed this emotional story, billionaire father found his only daughter, working as a maid. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heart-touching Nigerian billionaire stories filled with lessons, love, and suspense. Your support keeps us going and helps us share more inspiring stories every week. So go ahead, like, comment, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next twist in our upcoming story. See you in the next episode.